Hey, you're here.
You made
You're
it
here.
on
I'm
time.
telling you, I'm starting to think about taking half a day off on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, because my brain is my brain is shot. You know, like I started working at 6:45. I'm telling you, I'm starting to think about taking half a day off on Tuesdays every other Tuesday, because apparently we are live now. My brain is shot. You know,
That means our YouTube.
like I started working at
is
6:45. Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm starting to think about taking half a day off on Tuesday. Oh, and here I get to repeat myself too. Apparently we are live now. My brain is shot. You know. Jane in 3D.
About you sometimes when I'm sitting in front of the pool with my nose.
Yeah, right. As if. I know that everybody works hard and then comes in the evening, but sometimes I wish my brain were more like if this were more of a noontime meeting, you know?
6 days I've been dog sitting at my daughter's house. So
Oh, that's fun.
It's been too hard, but I've been able to do most of my stuff
Yeah.
there.
Are we ready?
Okay, we are ready. So I'm going to start recording in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for Alpine City, October 20th, 2020. And we have here at City Hall, we have Sylvia Christiansen from Planning Commission. I'm Jane Greiner. And then on our Zoom call, we have Planning Commission members Ed Bush and John McKay. Sorry, John, I will always say that. Can you scroll to the right? Because I can't see who else is there. Marla Fox is here from the city recording. And we have Troy Slade. And we have Alan McDonald. And then Jed from the city. Jed Muhlstein is the city engineer who's with us. And as I mentioned, Austin is here. He's the city planner. So hopefully I didn't miss anyone up there. And welcome to the meeting. The first thing on the agenda, we will have an opening prayer by Troy Slade. Then we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Ethan Allen. And everyone, if you will mute yourselves while Troy says the prayer, and then mute yourself while Ethan leads us in a pledge, which will be put on the screen.
Our Father in heaven, we are thankful that we can be able to gather this evening and discuss these matters that are before the Planning Commission at this time. We pray that we can be able to be knowledgeable, that we can be able to make the best recommendations and decisions for our town. And we're thankful that we can live here and enjoy the wonderful bounties and blessings which we are able to in this community. And bless us at this time, and these present blessings we ask. We do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Can you make sure that you're not muted? Well, we are, right? So you check with him.
I don't think
Ethan.
I don't think Ethan's on the call.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. Alan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
It's the most challenging pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. I apologize for that. I didn't check that before we started. So we're going to go into the public comment section of the meeting. Any person who would like to comment on an item that is not on the agenda, they can address the Planning Commission right now. And so if there is anyone watching on YouTube who has a comment, we'll give about a 30-second delay for them to check that. And then while we're waiting for that, Austin, do we have anyone who has emailed comments to you that I don't believe I received any?
So we did not receive any emails before
Okay.
5 p.m. before the meeting tonight. So that's
Okay. And then we'll just give it a couple more minutes. Do we have anyone actually viewing at the moment? I know people kind of come and go sometimes on YouTube.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. One person watching, which is probably me. So.
Okay. All right. So no comments then. Last week when I couldn't attend, it was great though, because I could watch it on YouTube. So that was a nice way to catch up. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move into the action items that we have for tonight. So we have the first item on the agenda, which is the master trail plan. And so we're going to make a recommendation to the city council on this. So let's review that first, and then we're having a public hearing after that? Or
So
wouldn't
we
the
actually
public hearing
had
be first?
we actually had a public hearing in the last meeting for the
Right.
trail master plan.
Right. So I'm just not sure why it's here. Oh, it's a trail committee ordinance is separate then.
Yeah, so that's a
Okay,
separate
that's
thing.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and review the master or the trail master plan that the public hearing was held for last planning commission. And are you going to introduce that, Austin, or would that be Jed?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Okay, Jed.
Jed,
yeah,
okay.
Yep, I'll do that. So we are proposing to update the trail master plan. And like you already said, we held a public hearing for it 2 weeks ago. We kind of reviewed the majority of the changes 2 weeks ago, and we did not make any motion on that or take any action on it mostly because we wanted to clean up some of the trailhead markings
Right.
and the labeling and such. And so really that's all we did to, we just refined that a little bit to bring it back tonight for you guys to look at. Austin, if you could just show them the map, I could show them some of the changes. And it's mostly over in the legend. So over in the legend, you can see last time we had a trail access item over there, but it didn't really make a lot of sense. So we condensed it down to just parking or trailheads only. And so if it's a trailhead, you'll see there's a little definition there now. A trailhead actually would include parking, restrooms, and access to trails. And then we needed a separate label for parking only because we do have areas where there is parking, but you don't have restrooms. It's just not a more established trailhead like the ones with restrooms. And so really that's the only change from last week to this week. Yeah, can't think of anything else to say about it.
Okay, thanks. All right, so then basically let's see if anybody has any questions on this. The modifications that were made. I did listen to last week, and so I'm luckily know what we're talking about here. Do any of the planning commission members have anything to add? And did this map that's been updated reflect everything that you understood was going to be changed?
I wanted to compliment Jed and everyone who worked on it. I thought it looked really great.
Yeah.
A lot of detail work was done and it's so appreciated.
Yeah, I think it does look a lot better, a lot more thorough than we've seen in the past, and it's really building out. So that looks great. Okay, if there's nobody with any comments, then if anybody has a motion or
I'll make a
comment.
motion. I motion to recommend that the trail master plan be approved as proposed.
Okay, we have a motion from Alan. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Ed Bush.
Thank you. Second from Ed Bush. All in favor of this motion, say aye. And we need to do a roll call since Marla won't be able to hear. So let's start here.
Sylvia Christiansen, aye.
Jane Greiner, aye.
Ed Bush, aye.
Troy Slade, aye.
Alan McDonald, aye.
Don McKay, aye.
Okay. So that was unanimous. So there's no one. Anyone who votes nay can say nay, but there's no one there, so don't need to say that part. Okay, so let's move on to the next item on our agenda. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a public hearing on an ordinance change about the trail committee. And so who's going to introduce that? Would like to have it introduced, and then we'll go ahead and hold the public hearing.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and take this one. This is coming back. So last time it was a discussion item. The Planning Commission discussed this, and it's been tweaked a little bit since the last meeting. So the biggest change is that I've separated where the city representatives are labeled in here. So if we scroll down, and I'll show you this. So I've just kind of moved it down here to its own section. Let's see, and this might even, looks like it's not even, there might be a typo here. Let's see. 5 citizens of Alpine City with preference for the following makeup. Okay, oh, here it is. Okay, so it's item 4. I just created this as its own item. The committee shall be supported by the following staff: a representative of the city planning department, a representative of the public works department. That was originally combined up here with the other 5 members of the trail committee. And so we just wanted to further distinguish who is a resident versus who is staff on that committee. And also their responsibilities are different. So that was one thing. As I was reviewing this for the packet, I noticed there was one thing that I wanted to remove from here, and that was or modification that I wish we would have corrected before it got in your packet. But this section here that I've highlighted, and 2 non-voting members as follows. So the committee shall be appointed by the city council and shall consist of 5 voting members. And so this part here, I think, should be removed since we've now added that section 4 down below. Mm-hmm. So if you want to make a motion on this, just make sure that we specify that. I would recommend that section be removed right there.
Okay.
And so advisory is spelled wrong on the title too.
Oh, good catch. Typo right there.
Okay, so let's move on to the public hearing then. So we're going to open a public hearing on this ordinance change. And so if anyone has sent in comments on it, or if there's any comments on YouTube, we'll give a minute for that to happen. Do we still just have one person watching?
We still just have one person on YouTube.
Okay, so if there were no comments emailed in, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And were there any comments emailed in on this?
Let me check one moment.
Okay.
Yeah, no comments.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing then. And the Planning Commission can now discuss this amendment and then prepare to make a motion.
Hey,
So-
this is Ed Bush. I did have one other comment in here that I should have probably forwarded to Austin earlier, but number 5 says the members of the committee shall be appointed for terms of 3 years. It probably should be the at-large members of the committee, because the other ones are either representative of the Planning Commission or City Council, which may or may not.
They're restricted and might change at any point in time by a
Right, based on who responsibility in the City Council or the Planning Commission gets assigned to that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good catch there.
Yeah. So that
so that item number 5 has a couple of modifications then. So the at-large members, and then also 2 members being appointed for 2 years. Was that which item was it you wanted to remove that one off?
the one that I wanted to remove was the last part of number 3.
Oh, yeah.
It says, and 2 non-voting members as follows.
Okay.
I would like to see also on 3.a.ii, it says 4 citizens at large, including 1 citizen who is interested in equestrian activities. And I'm questioning why it doesn't have like mountain biking activities in there too.
Because they're all that.
Yeah, they're all mountain bikers pretty much.
I guess that's not the issue. They're trying to balance out. But we could word that representation of equestrian, biking, and running, or something. If you feel like, I see what we're trying to do is say that we don't want it to all be represented by mountain bikers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
See, that's the problem.
But I have always lived by the philosophy that we don't base our policies on what's happening right now.
Right.
And so we want someone in there
I
that
agree.
represents mountain biking. I feel like it should be in there.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, what are the uses of the trails? They're multi-use trails, so biking, equestrian, and running or walking are all approved uses of the trails, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, what do you guys think?
Not all trails. I mean, certain trails.
Right,
You can't just take a horse on any trail.
right, exactly. But
Yeah, in
that is-
general, yeah.
yeah. And we're going to have some trails that are biking only trails, so they don't have to worry about pedestrians too, or pedestrians. I don't know if that's the right word for that, but
I don't feel like the walking and running is important because that's just going to happen on trails. Anyway.
well,
And in our town, so is the mountain biking, but I still feel like we need to have someone who
Yeah.
officially represents that group.
right. But I'm saying like if we're going to put mountain biking in, I think we should put all trail uses should be represented or something like that because, or a proponent of all trail uses. Because the whole idea you're saying is to balance it out. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? You guys that I can't see.
So this is Ed Bush. I would just strike the including part. I mean, these are people that are going to be appointed by the city council. Let the city council determine what they want the makeup to be.
That's fine too. Yeah. But like you said, if we call out one, it feels like we should call out all.
Yeah. So I would go the opposite way. I would just not call out one.
Just allow that to be the city council's discretion and wisdom to add people who represent everyone.
If the city council, as Alan would like, wants to put all mountain
Have
bikers
only
there,
bikers on it.
then let the city
Alan
council.
1, Alan 2, Alan 3.
Hey, my only point is if we're going to designate an equestrian representative, that person has to walk up and down the trails every day with a bucket and pick up after the horse. We don't ride through it.
Hey, that's why the biking representatives are there. So what do you guys like? Do you like the idea of just leaving that out altogether and leaving that up to the city council, or do you like calling that out?
Less is more.
Yeah, I like that.
Less is more.
Less is more. Okay.
Mhm.
But I did like your idea of that represent all uses of the trail or something.
We could say something like for citizens at large.
Yeah.
You could add something like that in there, if you wanted to represent.
Representing a good cross-section.
Yeah, representing a cross section of the trail
User-
uses or something like that.
That sounds wonderful.
I don't know.
I like it.
Anything else that anyone has? Removal of members. If anyone named Alan McDonald thinks only bikers should be allowed, oh, look, at majority 3 votes, you can remove him.
Okay, I did have one more thing on
Okay.
C3.
Mhm.
Do we need to put that the committee shall meet at least once monthly? Because I think there's going to be times when they're meeting a lot more, but we
Yeah.
want to make sure that they have at least one meeting a month.
Shall meet
Or is that kind of unspoken?
monthly unless deemed to be unnecessary on the first Friday of the month. I think it's okay like it is because that way someone who is being asked to be on the committee has a expectation. And I don't think they're not paid. It's 100% volunteer. I don't know. I kind of feel like that's enough, but there will be people who want to meet more for sure.
Do they have to do this on the public record and let the citizens know that this
They
meeting is
do.
happening?
They do. And that's part of this
That's part of
process.
why.
Formalizing it is it has to be a public meeting that anyone could attend if they wanted to. It has to be announced and there has to be an agenda posted. It has to meet the public meetings.
That's great. I like that. Otherwise you have people planning and meeting and running it on the side.
And we need to remove the letters E and the letter E and the letter F.
Mhm. Okay, if anyone have any more comments or is someone ready to make a motion?
This is Ed again. I guess I was just reading in if we do the at-large members of the committee shall be appointed for terms of 3 years. I guess then it's really you're staggering the 4 citizens, not the 5 ones, right? This is the first appointed member shall have staggered terms with 3 members being appointed for 3 years and 2 members being appointed for 2 years. It's really, you're going to have staggered terms with 2 members being appointed for 3 years and 2 members being appointed for 2 years, because the 5th one is the city council representative.
Well, the city councilor, maybe they don't want a city council member. They're elected for 4 years, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah.
So, maybe that is outlining the fact that they don't, the city council member serves for 2 years and also needs to be changed. Obviously, if they're out of their term, it's going to change anyway, but they may want that listed to indicate that the city council will reappoint the same person or a different person. So we probably
I would think the city council would have freedom to change their representative at any time.
Well, they can, but usually it has a term, and then if they want to change it outside the term, like what do they do for the safety, public safety committee and things like that? They all serve on a committee and.
Right. So typically after an election, then the mayor gets with the city council and then they have the opportunity to swap. They usually then swap around who's got what responsibilities depending on who the new members of the council are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that the city council representative is really not governed by this 3-year rotation.
I don't know. I'm assuming that if we leave it in, they will be governed by that. Otherwise, it'll be changed as.
So here's an example why they can't be governed by that. The city councilman loses his seat in the middle of the 3-year rotation. He's no longer now the city council representative on
Right.
it. He would no longer be there, right?
Yeah,
So,
right. In that case, it would be obvious.
right. So I'm just saying in this one, you're really talking about staggering the appointments of the at-large positions.
I'm okay with wording that either way, unless it is, the only thing I'm concerned about is if that is something that is supposed to be in the ordinances, how long each city councilman serves on the different committees without being reviewed and renewed. Because in that case, if someone was reelected year after year after year, it would just be up to the mayor whether they wanted to leave them. It would never come up in review or discussion by mandate that they review what committee they're on. I don't know if that's a big deal. I mean, have you guys?
I mean, I could see it being, it's kind of like if someone were to resign from the planning commission and their term wasn't up yet.
Yeah.
Someone would replace them and fill out the remainder of their term. Right. And then once that's over, then they, so it could be similar to that.
Yeah.
Or
that's what I think it is if you have a time limit listed.
It's suggesting. So, I mean, you could do it either way.
I'm just asking, on other committees, do they have a time limit to the amount of time a city council member serves on it? So on the safety committee, is that in any other ordinances where it designates that a city council member, we should just follow the same pattern is what I'm saying.
I believe it's just that there shall be a representative, and then I don't think there's a term
okay.
on that position.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the pattern that they've had, then I think we can follow it. If the pattern is that they're listing that out, then we should follow that.
So Ed, how would you modify number 5?
Number 5, as I would say, the at-large members of the committee shall be appointed for terms of 3 years, provided further that the first appointed at-large members shall have staggered terms, with 2 members being appointed for 3 years and 2 members being appointed for 2 years.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's great. Love it. Going back to our less is more plan. Any other comments? Okay, we're ready for a motion if no one else has any other comments or,
And Jane, we did
Things
have
that they would
someone walk in. I don't know if they wanted to.
yeah. Were you here for the Trail Committee ordinance change? Okay. No, we just finished the public hearing on that a few minutes ago, so we wanted to give you an opportunity to speak if that's what you're here for. So. Great. Well, welcome. Great. We're glad to have somebody like that show up. Okay, good. All right. So we'll go ahead and then if anyone is prepared to make a motion or has further discussion.
Okay, so this is Ed. I will make a motion to recommend that ordinance 2020-21 be approved as proposed, except for the modifications in item 3 that would delete the and two non-voting members as follows. Part item 3II to include to change including one citizen who is interested in equestrian cities to read 4 citizens at large with representation with membership representing a cross section of the usage of the trails. And then finally in section 5 to insert at-large members in front of the reference of members in that section.
We have a motion by Ed. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alan McDonald. Any discussion on that motion? I think we got the type, any kind of typos are already corrected, like advisory being spelled wrong.
Yeah,
Do we need to make that in the motion?
If there's a typo, yeah.
we captured the changes that Austin wanted to see made.
Pardon?
Did we capture in that motion the changes that Austin wanted to see made?
No, we did not. So
Actually, I think he did get it. Yeah, he
did
got
you? Okay. Oh, yes, he did. He removed the 2 members that was in 3,
part of his motion.
the end of 3. So he did capture that. So I think we got everything, and any kind of punctuation or spelling corrections will automatically be made. So everyone who is in favor of that motion, say aye, and we'll start with Sylvia again.
Sylvia, aye.
Jane Greiner, aye.
Ed Bush, aye.
Alan McDonald, aye.
Troy Slade, aye.
Don McKay, aye.
Okay, and so there will be no nays on that again. So that passed unanimously. I would like to make one comment that I mentioned in City Council, and that is that the only concern I have of changing our Parks, Recs, and Open Space Committee to be a Trail Advisory Committee, just because those are the only ones that meet. I do think the city needs to look into the future of having a Trails or a Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Committee, because the Trails Committee doesn't do any work on the parks at all. And so that's neglected. I do think, I believe that the mayor said that they were looking at hiring someone part-time. It kind of fell apart, or they had someone, it didn't work out. But I would just like if that comment could be made to City Council when this is presented to them, that I think that we do need to look at something in the future that addresses our parks and recreation.
Oriented committee.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Jane,
So
this
that
is Ed.
isn't neglected, because this obviously doesn't cover that at all.
Yeah, I can mention that. And I know that, so Jessica Smewen on the city council she's been talking about the possibility of adding other committees, like an art committee.
Yeah.
And I can't, some other committees.
Right. Which I think is great, because obviously the things we have committees on are getting a lot of attention, which is wonderful, and it's improving our community. And so if we have people who are willing to serve on committees for other things that are important to the community, I think we should look at forming other committees as needed, or as interest shows by the citizens. So, okay, thanks. All right, so then the next item on the agenda is we're going to have a public hearing about the outdoor lighting ordinance that we've been discussing. And so let's get an introduction to that first before we do our public hearing.
All right. So the outdoor lighting ordinance that's been proposed and that we're having a public hearing on for tonight is something that has been a discussion item in the Planning Commission for several weeks now. And so now we're holding a public hearing, and we've taken the ideas that have been discussed and kind of formalized that and put together a ordinance, a proposed ordinance. And so that's what you're seeing here on your screen. Is the outdoor lighting ordinance deals with two main parts: sports courts and then house and accessory structures. So those are the two main aspects that would be dealt with. With regards to sports courts, it says all lighting shall be directed downward and should not spill onto adjacent property. Light operating hours shall be restricted to 7 a.m. from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then house and accessory structures has similar language saying that all lighting shall be directed downward and shall not spill onto adjacent property, and has the same operating hours from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then it goes on to have some exceptions here. So holiday lighting, like Christmas lights, that kind of a thing. Landscape lighting, if your tree's lit up, or you have those little solar powered
Walkway.
lights, those types of things would be exempt from these operating lighting restrictions. And then also security lighting. So, any kind of lighting that you have that's on a motion detector type of a thing. If someone comes by your house the motion activates the light, that type of thing would also be exempt from this ordinance. So this is the ordinance that's been put together based on that discussion, and it's ready to have a public hearing now.
Okay, great. Okay, so we will open the public hearing portion of the meeting. And if anyone who is watching on YouTube has comment, you can type your comment into the chat, and Austin can check to see if any emails have arrived.
Comments?
Pardon?
Comments.
Oh, and yes, it's like a chat comments section of the of the YouTube.
Okay, so there is now another person watching on YouTube, so I'm not,
Okay, we'll give them a minute, and if that person chooses to comment. And at this time, if you wanted to comment on anything, you are welcome to come up and comment. And you just state your name. Well, it has to be this item, obviously, that we're talking about. Yeah. So you state your name and your address, and then you can give us any input that you'd like to give on that.
Okay, cool. My name's Kyle Tykert. I live on 757 Alpine Highway, just, south of the roundabout.
Okay.
And I'm a pilot, and a lot of our wording is done by sun or dusk and dawn and sunrise and sunset. And I like the sport courts lighting operation hours. Instead of being so strict with 7 a.m., maybe as time changes throughout the year, we could say 30 minutes before
Dawn.
Until midnight. That's
a great suggestion. Thank you. Appreciate that. So that's a good comment. So that because on during the winter it's dark much later in the morning. So
Might want to get out and practice at 5:30 or something.
yes, so that's a good comment. So let's see, were there any other comments that have come in?
Nothing on YouTube.
Okay.
And let me check emails. I don't see any emails that have been received.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. It's strange these days, but we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that, and now open it up for discussion for city council members to discuss the proposed changes. Obviously, these are things we've met and talked about several times prior to now, and this is kind of what we landed on. I think the hours were sort of in discussion a little bit, so.
Yeah, so Jay, this is Ed Bush again. I think we need to change if we're going to do midnight, I think midnight is 12 a.m., not 12 p.m.
Good point.
That's why I always say noon or midnight.
That's great.
11:59.
They'll be on all night till lunch the next day.
Yeah, we allow them to put the lights on from 7 a.m. to noon. But I still do want to discuss. I still think the sports court being 12 midnight is too late. I know we were looking to make it consistent with the house and accessory structures, and I'll make the point. I have a daughter that lives in Provo, and they had a sport court built behind them by a neighbor. And, you know, in the summertime, they have small children. They do like to turn their air conditioner off at times and leave the windows open sometimes. And they have to call at 11 o'clock their neighbor because they've got a 20-person basketball game going on in the back, and ask if they can do that because it's a lot of noise that's coming in. And they just, you know, when it's 11 o'clock at night, they're trying to get to sleep. You know, they're trying to get some sleep for their kids as well as to get up the next morning. It's a lot of noise going on and a lot of light coming in when you're going to midnight.
Didn't we talk about what the sound ordinance is? What was the restriction on noise?
So we have like construction noise. Is that, if that's what you're referring to?
I just remember we have a noise ordinance about something.
So we do have it for construction. So
We don't have it on anything else?
no, we don't have a noise ordinance.
Okay. Construction is like 7 a.m.,
7 a.m. to
it's like 8 p.m. maybe or something.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
p.m.
Yep. 7 to
I remember
7.
that because when we got a call when we were building a house from the neighbor saying that the framers were there at 6 a.m. and could they please not work till 7? It's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know they were doing that. Okay, good comment, Ed. What do you guys think about midnight being too late?
I think in about 7 or 8 years, his grandkids are going to be over playing on that sport court, and they're going to want us to play till midnight.
There's two sides to that coin.
Well, I'm just looking at it from perspective of, you know, one neighbor,
Intrusion.
another neighbor, right? Not necessarily what my grandkids would want to do.
No, yeah. No, I agree that midnight is quite late. I mean, if someone could stay later and then at least the citizens would have something to, to ask.
I thought the point that was brought up last week or last meeting on this point, on this item was very relevant. And that's that when it's not getting dark till 10:30 at night or 10 o'clock at night,
Right.
It doesn't give you much time to use your lighted court in the summer when you want to be using it the most.
So I guess my response to that is, are we making the ordinance so that we're looking out for neighbor to neighbor perspective, or we're making the ordinance so people can use their lights? I don't see a reason why, if it was light to 11 o'clock at night, to say we should expand it so to 3 in the morning so people can use their lights. I don't see people using their lights as the.
No, that's a good point.
Here.
You know, you might have a really good pickleball game going, and
Yeah, I tend to agree with John. I just think it's somewhat of a compromise, right? I mean, we have an ordinance where somebody, you can't use your court all night, but you can use it till midnight. Some people might think that that's, a little late, but other owners might say, well, I got to get a game going. Why can't I go till 1 or 2 in the morning? It's my property. Seems like we're saying, well, okay, we'll kind of try to split the baby here and make a consistent ordinance that goes till midnight. I don't know that it's going to make everybody happy, but it seems to be a reasonable compromise between somebody who wants to, play till all hours of the morning and neighbors who don't want somebody playing on a sport court till all hours of the morning. It's not going to happen in the winter, right? Because it's too cold. You're really talking about 4 months of the year here. Just my 2 cents.
What did other cities have? I don't recall when we looked at the other city, when we compared other cities. Does anyone remember what the?
Highland has 10 p.m.
yeah.
Okay, Highland has 10 p.m. Do you recall other cities?
I don't recall any others.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 10 p.m. is too early. I mean, I think 11 p.m. is reasonable, definitely not later than 12 p.m. But what do you guys think about the recommendation of the morning hours? So say it doesn't get light until, say it's already light at 7 a.m. Somebody wants to play 6 a.m. Do you think that we should do anything with the morning hours, or do you feel like, I can see people getting up at 6 a.m. and using it, but probably in the summer. And I don't know when it's light then. You know what I mean? Summertime where yeah. Any thoughts on?
I guess if I was next to a sports court and somebody got up at 6 a.m. and started playing basketball next to my house, to my window, I would not be very happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more ticked at that than the midnight thing. I'm more of a night owl than I am an early morning guy.
You guys. Well, I think the question here is, what is the point of restricting this? So the point of restricting this is just like this whole lighting ordinance is on protecting, light pollution and nuisance, basically, right? That's kind of what we're talking about is that lighting that is a nuisance to adjacent properties. So
I think you're also somewhat striking a compromise between, owner, users, and neighbors.
right, exactly. So at what point is it a nuisance versus just someone using their yard? So we do have the lights have to be directed down, and they shouldn't spill over.
So question, are we talking just lights on the house? I guess.
This is sports court lighting specifically.
Okay. So right now we're specifically talking sports courts.
Yes.
Right.
On the other part of the ordinance, does it refer to yard and house and soffit lighting?
It just says it says house and accessory structures, all lighting shall be directed downward. So we probably need to maybe extend the description of lighting there.
Well, yeah, I'm just sitting here. Honestly, right now I'm sitting in my garage and I'm looking outside at my yard. And I have yard lights that shine upwards on trees. I also have lights that are just hooded little things that you kind of put around the edge of your yard.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, like, would this ordinance apply to my situation? Because I know around Alpine, there's a large majority of homes with yard lights.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, this says landscape lighting is exempt.
Okay, if landscape's exempt, we're good.
And security lighting is exempt as long as it's on a timer of 5 minutes or less once it goes on. So it doesn't stay on for 2 hours once it turns on.
Yeah.
So the house and accessory structures, we might want to say all, if you wanted to add on house or accessory structures into it, but it's under the category of that. So
I'm just thinking too, like on a house, how, I guess people are going to have timers on their soffit lighting.
Yep. And it says they'll be directed downward, shall not spill onto an adjacent property. And I think most people do, especially these fancy houses with all the soffit. I mean, I know we have a timer. I don't even have a fancy house. We have a timer on our front porch light that goes off at midnight. So I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. My concern.
This will only be this is going to be enforced by new building permits, letting people know, and then it's just going to be complaint enforced. And so we just need to have something in place so that if someone does say, hey, we have a lighting issue in our neighborhood, we have some kind of an ordinance to.
Then let's go to midnight and see if we get any complaints.
That's probably a good suggestion.
I guess my concern or thought is pretty much alleviated where the landscape lighting is exempt.
Okay.
Yeah, if people had to go change their power boxes for landscape lighting, that would be pretty expensive. But I haven't looked into timers for home lights. I had imagined they're not as expensive.
Oh, Jed, come on, get your wink and your whatever all that other stuff is. I don't know. My husband has our house, so I have to like tell it to turn the lights on and lock the front door. Oh dear.
It's not that up to date.
Yeah, no, he's super into it. What do you guys think about 6 a.m.? I'm thinking of, a lot of people get up and go walking at 6 a.m. I know a lot of people in my neighborhood who do that. And honestly, it's almost helpful to have some outdoor lighting turned on by then, like a porch light on by then, so I don't know. None of you early birds want to comment on that. Have the lights on, waking you up.
I was kind of thinking about what Ed was saying. I sort of think if somebody's making, it's kind of more of a
More
noise.
of a noise thing, right?
I mean, because now it's kind of 7 o'clock, I think, is when, noise can sort of start, like construction and stuff, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So I kind of think 6 is I would be irritated if people got up and started playing something.
All right. But okay, I can see that. So 7 a.m. And then you guys can decide about 11 versus 12. I mean, 12. That makes it lenient, I guess. Anyway, I can't make the motion, so you guys get to choose. Anything else you guys want to discuss in this? I mean, this is just one portion of the many things we wanted to, talk about. And so this lighting ordinance, while it's not super extensive, we just wanted to take, we wanted to address some issues that were reasonable to address. So these were the two most reasonable things that we could do to talk about some lighting issues. So I like what this is. I think it's a great first step on it.
So are we just down to whether this should be 11 p.m. or midnight?
Pretty much.
Ed, do you want to make a motion to change it, and we'll see where people end up on the 11 p.m. versus midnight, or I can make it. We'll see the same thing either way.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. This is Ed. I'll make a motion that we let me get the right wording here. I make a motion to recommend that Ordinance 2020-19 be approved with the following exceptions: that the 12 p.m. If we do have a 12 p.m. designation, turns into 12 a.m. designation, and the lighting hours for sport carts gets changed from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion by Ed. Do we have a second? If somebody wants to second it, we can discuss it, or if no one seconds it, we'll have another motion. No seconds? Okay, so then the motion fails. So then we need another motion to be made.
Okay, I'll do a motion to recommend that Ordinance 2020-19 be approved as proposed.
I'll second that, Troy.
Okay, we have a motion by Alan McDonald. We have a second by Troy Slade.
But we do have to change the PM to AM though.
Yeah, I really need to change it to a.m.
I agree with Ed on that one.
Okay. Do we need to add a modification to that motion to be able to do that, or can that just be noted like a typo?
I think Austin can just fix that.
I think it was
Yeah.
a typo, and that everybody kind of, I think we all know.
I think we all agree it's supposed to be.
meant by
Okay,
that,
good. So
so-
let's just leave that out of the motion. Okay. So we have a motion to approve it as is with no changes. And so all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Sylvia Christiansen, aye.
Jane Greiner, aye.
Ed Bush, nay.
Troy Slade, aye.
Alan McDonald, aye.
MKI.
Okay, is that everyone? Sorry, I couldn't hear that last one. Okay. So since we did roll call vote, I guess I don't need to do the nays. So
Yeah, you know.
you've got that, Marla, right? Okay. So then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is,
Hey, Jane, this is, I would just like Austin to note when it goes to the city council that
Yeah.
my nay was not on the ordinance itself in
Right.
terms of its intent, but it was just on the time.
yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
it could be noted to them that, a lot of discussion was had between 11 p.m. and midnight. Personally, I'd be okay with either one. I don't feel really strongly about
I
it.
just want to make sure the city council knows that, the planning commission kind of unanimously supports having
I'm
that.
happy to.
They're going to be like, Ed is such a troublemaker.
Right.
Ed hates kids.
Oh, exactly.
Children.
They're called room darkening shades, if you need any help.
Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is going to be a public hearing about the ordinance on garage doors. And so let's get an introduction to that before we open the public hearing.
Okay, so like the last item on our agenda, this is this is coming from a discussion that the Planning Commission has had, where we've been discussing excessive garage doors on the front of a home where, that might not be aesthetically pleasing to have a home that's just nothing but garage doors. So I felt the discussion was, maybe there needs to be some kind of a limit on how many garage doors you could place on the front of a home. And so after all that discussion, this is the kind of the language that's been crafted. The big one being that it's no more than 60% of the width of the front facade of a house. And just, I want to back up here. So this is only would only apply to the CR 20,000 and CR 40,000 zones. So our half acre and 1 acre zones. But the quarter acre zone, it feels like it's too restrictive in that area because, you just don't have
Homes
very
are
wide
smaller.
lots. And
Yeah.
Well, then forget that picture I just sent you in your email.
Oh,
Because it shows
okay.
an example of what
Right.
how that could
Be a problem.
really defeat our low income housing and moderate income
Yeah.
housing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of a certain type of house.
I mean,
Right.
some of these old Pioneer lots, they're only like 80 feet wide. So
Right.
if you want to have a 2-car garage, it's just, there's just no way to do, have that
Yeah,
be
okay,
reasonable.
good.
So
So,
are those homes over on
So on
200
the
North?
20,000, 40,000. Okay.
yeah, so it's just those 2 zones.
Okay.
The 5 acres on it, those lots are so big that I don't think
It's not a problem. Right.
it's a problem. And they're usually so far away from the road anyways.
Right. Now, and even if this was a PRD, the zone, it would apply to the lot size. Like, do we actually rezone PRDs or is it stay in the same zone?
Even though a PRD lot, it may be smaller, it's still considered in that zone. So
that could be
yeah, so if
a
you had
problem.
if you had a CR 20,000 zone lot that was smaller because it's in a PRD,
Mm-hmm.
it still has to meet all of the CR 20,000 zone
Okay.
requirements.
Well, we can address those if they come up as exceptions. I don't think there's any that are that small.
So one thing I've been thinking about this since this language was put together, and so at the very end here it says 8 feet facing. So an 8 foot. Basically we're trying to restrict the maximum
Type
number,
of-
like
mhm.
RV style,
Right.
big, where you'd put an RV or a boat or something.
Right.
And so the idea was no greater than 8 feet, but 8 feet, I know that 9 foot is actually pretty common. 8
Yeah.
foot is the average. And so that's why that number was chosen. But
Right.
I feel like maybe we might want to say, bump that number
9.
up to like 9 or 10 feet,
Yeah.
to be honest. And
I
that would
agree.
still prohibit, the RV type
Right.
thing.
But that would allow
Allow
people,
some,
yeah, people do like the higher garage door for like a truck or things like
or
that.
if you had like an arched
That's true. An
above your-
arched
above your-
garage door,
garage door, that the top of that arch might be
10
10 or
feet.
10 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
That's a good thought.
Hey,
Okay.
question,
Anything else?
and Sylvia, help me with this. You're the wordsmith. That last sentence, each lot should be limited to a maximum of 2 garage doors with a height greater. Should that be with a height not greater than
Yeah.
8, 9, or 10 feet facing the street? We need the word
Yeah.
not in there.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
Wow, Alan, look at that. Well, let's go ahead and go into the public hearing though, and then we
okay.
can continue to discuss all those things. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing with that introduction on the garage doors. And so if anyone has a comment, either in the room, on YouTube, or in an email, let's hear those now. Okay,
we're just waiting here.
yeah.
Now have 4 people watching on
Okay.
YouTube. So
Well, great. We'll give them in. And obviously, if a comment comes in after we close this, we can pause and take that comment if we didn't pause long enough for them. So we'll give that just a few more seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. And as I mentioned, if you're on YouTube watching and would like to comment on this, feel free to still put your comment in the YouTube chat comment section. So now we can discuss this. So as you mentioned, maximum of 2 garage doors with a height or with no greater than, and I I kind of agree with changing it to 10 feet. I have a question though, and I had emailed this to Austin earlier. I went around and looked at the different garage doors that we were considering. How does this take into account a corner lot where someone can have 2 garage doors on this corner and 2 garage doors on this corner?
Yeah, so the way that I've understand the way that we've kind of proposing this is that a corner lot still has to meet that 60-foot width. So you couldn't just say, okay, on this street, my whole house is normal, and then the other side, other street, it's just going to be nothing but garage.
Okay, so they would have to have 60% of their house showing, then they could have garage on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they limited to, so they can have garage doors on that side and they have a limit of, so where do they put an RV garage is what I'm saying. So we have the 2, each lot will be limited to a maximum of 2 garage doors. I think the not is not what we were saying. I think this was saying that they could have a set number of a garage door that is high. We could say you have a 3-car garage, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell them that they have only 2 garage doors that have a height. Or are we allowing them to have 2 tall garage doors? Is that what it is?
We're saying you can have 2 RV styles, so you could have your boat and your RV, but no more than that.
So then then it's correct the way it's written, because that says they'll be limited to a maximum of 2 garage doors with a height greater than 10 feet. So we're saying that they can have 2 that are taller than 10 feet, and anything else has to be under 10 feet.
Right.
So the way it's written is correct. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so when we say 2 garage doors, I mean, they come in different sizes. Does that mean that they would have, like if they had a double car that fit 2 RVs in and then they did it over here too?
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe it says the addition. Go
I see what
ahead.
you're saying, like if you had a 2-car garage, but it's just 1 door.
Right.
And then I'm going to have 2. So basically I have a 4-car garage.
Right.
But it's 2 garage doors. Yeah.
Yes. So that is, but is that addressed in the 60%?
It would still, yeah, I mean, it would still be limited by the
really big
60%.
house.
Yeah, you'd have to have one huge house.
A lot of those in my life.
We do. But I think the point is that if enough house is showing, but I don't know.
And I want to emphasize one thing here. This is really talking about garages that face the street. So if you have like a garage that faces the side of your property, you're not going to be penalized for that. Or if you have one tucked away in the back somewhere,
Right.
again, you're not going to.
So if your driveway comes in and turns, then this is street facing.
One's facing the street.
What do you guys think? Do you think we need to address the width of the garage doors?
Just on that last sentence.
Mm-hmm. You know, 2 garages that are over 10 feet, but do we want to say anything as far as the width of that? Or do you feel like that is sufficiently covered in saying that it cannot take up more than 60% of the front facade of the house?
Yeah, I don't think you want to get involved in calling out architectural details. It's already addressed with the issue there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's restrictive enough, I think, the 60%, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I think that covers the desired effect of a straight wall of garage doors being all that's visible from the front of a house and from the side of the house as well.
So I hate to keep being the English teacher, but does anyone else notice that the second whereas has a greater than sign right after it? I'd like to see that go away.
I don't know. That's kind of a nice addition.
That could lead to some interesting interpretations.
Yeah.
I have one question. So it's where it says wall elements between garage doors. Do we need, like, what about the elements that are at the side of the garage door, not between the garage doors? I mean, could we just say intervening wall elements and take out between?
Some people connect their garage to their home with like a walkway or a breezeway. So would that be considered part of the garage? Because that is outside the garage doors, not between them.
Yeah, or they could, make, 15 feet at the side of the door. It wouldn't be between the doors, it'd be the side of the door.
Right.
I don't know.
I personally, I like the way it's worded because I mean, they can have like a garage door and then they can have 20 feet in between the next garage door, but they still have to count that 20 feet.
Right. But do you care about the outside area of the garage? Mm-hmm. That's a good thought, though. So 60%, the width of the garage is equal to the width of the garage door, or in the case of multiple garage doors, the sum of the widths of each garage door plus the width of any intervening wall elements between garage doors.
So the end segments are not part of that calculation.
Right. That's what Troy is bringing up is, do we want to include any of the end segments, or do we feel like just between the doors is enough?
Including the end segments is going to make it more restrictive. So
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it is.
want to consider
I
that.
We
would-
might need to change a percentage if we did that. So
I would keep it the way it is because you might not be able to easily define where the end segment of the garage begins and the rest of the house.
yeah,
It may not
Right.
jut out in any shape or form. It may continue right over to the
mm-hmm.
rest of the house.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, good discussion. It's great to bring up different points and think about them. And I want to make sure we all never hesitate to bring up any points. I often will make a point and then after listening to everybody go, yeah, I agree with you guys, even though it was my point. So it's good to discuss all of these. Any other discussion that anyone wants to, any other concerns or anything? So if not, then we're ready for a motion on this. I think the only thing that we all discussed is the possibly changing that 8-foot height to something larger given architecture or increased height of standard garage doors.
What is the typical height, Jed, of just a standard garage door?
That's a good question. I think standard height is 9 feet.
So do you agree then that
Do you want me to measure mine right now?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
You want me to measure mine right now?
You're in your garage. Just pull out your measuring tape, Jed. While you're checking your lights out, get the measuring tape up and get that motion sensor going or point one of your tree lights that way. Okay, so 9 is probably standard, and I think Austin's point of an arch over a garage door is a good point too. If we're going to choose the maximum height of the door, so
should that be changed to 10?
I think it's good, but just my
That was a
thought.
good number.
Take it back. My garage doors are 8 feet tall, and I think that is the standard size.
Okay. So what do you think, Jed? If we added, do you think is a 9 foot, even though 8 foot is standard, do you think it's common for people to go slightly higher for, like I said, I'm just imagining my husband who's pulling into our garage with our truck, and I feel like I'm like.
Well, especially an Alpine too. There's a lot of big vehicles, a lot of lifted vehicles.
Right.
You have to consider 8 is a standard, but Alpine has a lot of custom homes, and custom homes don't tend to have standard things.
Right.
Yeah, I would say the majority of the garages that go in an Alpine are bigger than mine. So
Okay. So do you think 10 feet is a good number, or do you think that's still too restrictive? We obviously, what's the height of a RV garage door?
I know.
Well,
RV
I've
is
got my measure tape and I've got an RV
15.
sitting right outside.
something like that. And
Yeah.
we have a really
Do you have an
big-
RV garage too, Jed?
No, I have an RV.
Yeah, so we're thinking garages are probably 13 to 15 feet on a RV door. So I think 10 feet is Good.
With the height.
Yeah, I
range
think
then.
that's a good number. 13 to 15 is better. So my camper trailer is about 10 and a half or 11 feet tall if I wanted to try to pull it into something. So you definitely need a 12 to 13-ish foot tall.
Foot tall. Some of the doors I've seen for those have got to be more like an 18-foot garage door. I mean, they're huge. They look like a story and a half.
What about all the wake surf boats with towers?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, there's some RVs out there, the ones that look like a bus, they're a lot bigger than my camper trailer.
Well, basically what we want here to hit is the height of a door that might be custom, but is not for an RV. So what is a slightly bigger than normal garage door for someone who may have trucks and things like that, or not RVs or boats? So do you think 10 feet is high enough?
You know, a non-RV, non-boat, 10 feet's probably plenty. But I think if you're getting into, you know, like for example, a lot of homes are 3-car garages where the two car bay may be facing sideways,
right?
But that third bay faces the street at the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's the RV/boat garage. So if somebody has a straight shot, backing the boat or the RV in and out of that. And so
they can have 2 garages there that are over 10 feet.
Yeah.
Which is fine. They just can't have 3 or 4.
I think if we just change that 8 to 10 on number 3, I think we'll be good.
I do too.
And if we're wrong, we'll amend it again.
Yeah. If you guys have exceptions coming in every other week, we'll know we picked the wrong number there. No, I think that's correct though. I really do. So, okay. So somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I recommend, make a motion to recommend adopting the amendments to Article 3.03.100 and 3.04.100 pertaining to garage door restrictions, changing the height of the 2 garage doors on the last sentence of item 3 from 8 to 10 feet.
Okay. We have a motion by John McKay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Sylvia, a second by Sylvia. I was going to say Sylvia by second. Second by Sylvia Christiansen. And does anyone want to discuss anything about that motion? Okay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on that. Go ahead and say yay or nay.
Sylvia Christiansen, yay.
Jane Greiner, yay.
Ed Bush, yay.
Troy Slade, yay.
Alan McDonald, aye.
I was thinking that I said that wrong. I am so tired. Who did we miss? Did everyone get that?
It's unanimous.
Okay.
Aye, yay, whatever.
Aye.
Did I start it?
No, I did. Oh dear. Okay, it's about time to be done. Sorry, everyone. It passed unanimously with yays and ayes alike. And so that is our final item. So we're going to move on to communications. Does anyone have communications that they would like to bring up?
Are we meeting on election night?
We are not. We want you to get out there and vote.
I already voted.
You probably already voted, but
Okay. Okay, so that's a good call out. So there will be no meeting. That's on November, what date?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. So we will not meet that day. I wanted to thank Alan for covering for me last week. And I had a couple questions. What on that Montadella development, what is going on with that? They started it and then they stopped and then they dug a basement stop. Do you know what's happening with that?
Last I heard that they had to get some kind of soils test done.
Oh.
So they never had that done, and they went to dig the hole for the foundation and discovered, hey, we need a soils test. So
and do we not cover that? We didn't require that in their
Just the building code.
building? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. They got that for the main development. We do require it for the development.
So I thought.
I'm
But-
not, I don't know for sure. It's
Still,
really
soil
been kind of,
soils vary quite a bit from just 50 feet apart from each
That's
other.
true. And that's right next to the creek bed or whatever you would call that, where they dug.
Better. I could very easily see a lot of gravels right close to the creek, but have clay up closer to where that house is being built.
Be
So
unstable.
yeah,
I wondered.
yeah, I think
Okay.
someone said that there was clays in that area. I don't know.
Okay.
So
We
And then- on
It
top-
changed ownership also, so that
Yeah.
probably.
Oh, it did?
did change ownership.
Oh,
They've had a lot of little hiccups here and
Okay.
there. So
okay.
yeah,
Before moving to Alpine, I lived in Linden in an area where the houses started sinking. And the chapel, the church house, the LDS church house there started sinking, and they had to put piles, is that what they're called? The
Piers.
piers underneath. And it was a huge mess.
You mean it wasn't built on a firm foundation?
It wasn't. They were not being a wise man.
John the Rock.
I know. It was built on clay, apparently. Okay, I was curious about that because I was hoping that that hadn't come across something that was going to leave that as kind of an eyesore and sadly half developed.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're still moving forward with it. It's
Okay.
just a delay.
Okay. My son's in archaeology, and if they ever run across any type of an artifact or a bone or anything, they have to stop development and bring in a cultural resource management group to do core samples and look for any kind of remnants of anything, which I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we didn't find that in Alpine in a development here or there. So
Bone or something, you know.
yeah, no, or, any type of artifact, Native American, anything. So, and then the other thing I wanted to know, I wasn't able to watch the city council meeting, but did the Pierces ever bring their recommendation to city council? The Pierces who wanted to change their zoning so that they could put that street through and have lots. That was Terry and Tony Pierce.
Yeah, the zone change proposal did go to city council. The
Uh-huh.
city council did not approve.
They did not approve it. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know.
So
So,
can I mention something that is coming to, what is the venue called? Is it the art museum that does, the Alpine Art Museum
Mhm.
that does activities there?
the one that's on the way into Alpine?
Yeah. And
Okay.
they have like wedding receptions?
Yeah,
and stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Boundary,
Events,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of it is.
The,
but-
Alpine Art Center.
So my daughter has just started a 501c3 called the Millstone Guild, and and she's putting on a pretty swanky affair on November 7th,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be a dinner, $250 a ticket, and 100% of the money that they get from that will go to OUR, Operation Underground Railroad.
Uh-huh,
So I'm going to shoot you guys all some information on that. I'd
Oh,
love
good.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
At one point, we discussed having something where members of the city could post things. It kind of got dropped and everything, but a lot of the cities, they have, it's monitored, but they have a site where people can post yard sales in their area or events like that. I mean, there's Facebook groups that citizens have just created that kind of do the same thing, but that's something that,
well, I'll shoot out an email with details. It is November 7th. I know that, but that's about all I know at this point.
Okay.
And it's $250, I take it.
okay, well, it's a good cause. Good cause,
really
yeah.
good cause, yeah.
Okay, any other communications? All right, let's move on to the approval of the Planning Commission minutes from October 6th, 2020.
So in particular, I would like Jed to look at the proposed change that I sent out, because it was him that was talking when I was listening, because I missed the meeting last time. And it was confusing to
Did
me.
you email that? I don't.
Yeah, I did.
Just before the meeting started, you should have an email about like 6:50 maybe.
Yeah, about that.
All right, I'm just pulling it
If so, you could, if not, if you don't see it, we could read it to you.
up. I can see it. I pulled my email up here.
So she felt like it wasn't representative of what you had said, and
Okay.
that there were some important things missing.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I'll just say I would agree with her comments. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Sylvia, for watching that and comparing it to the notes. Okay, do we have a motion on the minutes?
Okay, and then
Oh,
one more thing
more?
is on
Okay.
page 5, line 39, that needs to be changed to the 15th instead of the 1st.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to make the motion because I'm the one that.
I know. What is the standard if we were not at the meeting? Do we even vote to approve the minutes of the meeting, or do we go ahead?
Go vote on it.
You can, okay,
Assume that they're correct as written.
right. Or if you've listened to it, obviously. So, okay. So does somebody want to make a motion?
I didn't hear what that last change was from Sylvia. Page 5.
Oh, page 5, line 39, it says to approve the minutes for September 1st instead of September 15th.
Yes, I've already changed that. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 15th Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
I have a question. Why on my agenda here does it say October 6th?
October 6th, because that's the date of the minutes. So that was when our last meeting was.
Why are we approving the minutes from September?
We need to hurry. She needs to go to bed.
No, I'm
We're on October 20th, so that was about 2 weeks ago that those minutes were.
right.
Yeah, so that date's wrong.
Well, I was going to say the date he just read was a different date than both of those.
Yeah, I was reading at the bottom of the draft.
Okay.
So whatever the date is.
Okay, wasn't the 6th?
Go ahead, just make your motion again. No, he didn't say that.
All right, now I gotta.
Let's see.
So the minutes are from October 6th.
October 6th.
Date on there.
All right. So make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 6th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting with the changes as noted by Sylvia Christensen.
Okay. Great. We have a motion by John McKay,
Second.
second by Alan. All in favor?
Sylvia, aye.
Jane, aye.
Ed, I.
Troy, aye.
Alan, aye.
John, aye.
So that motion passes and the meeting is adjourned. Oh, do I need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Wait, he didn't say with the changes, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. Someone needs to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Oh, wait, do we have to second it? Okay, we need a second to adjourn the meeting.
This is Ed. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Sylvia, a second by Ed. All in favor? Just together we can say it.
Aye.
Yay.
Aye, yay.